the matter, honey? What? You can't sleep? I know what this is about. You want to hear that story again, don't you? The one you like? With the happy ending? Okay. I think we definitely have time to share this one again. Why don't you climb right up here next to me? And I'll tell you all your favorite parts. A long time ago, in a galaxy named after a candy bar, there was a green planet named Earth that was filled with cerulean water, lush green grass, and was kept warm and fruitful by the movements of a bright sun every day in human years. In fact, little did the humans know it, but there were secretly 3 races of humans among them. You couldn't tell by looking at them. Each human looked relatively similar to the next. They were all between 5 and 6 feet tall when fully grown, generally, and had skin tones ranging from pearlescent alabaster to shiny, lustrous ebony, and hair that unfurled in thickly woven sheets or rings, and limbs that could move and play in the fields and pathways overlooking the sky. But each of the 3 species of human beings had a very different idea of what it meant to live on the planet. The first group of humans were by far the most influential. They favored their country's military force, centralization of power, financial oppression, and religious control. Everywhere they went, they would either force other cultures to adopt their might is right mentality or suffer terrible consequences. They were also very persuasive for other reasons, which we'll get into. The second group of humans, you could say, were kind of loafers, you might describe them as. They didn't care much about these matters of control and compliance, so much as securing an easy-going lifestyle for themselves, free from financial worry and physical pain, and full of things they considered to be good for them, according to their appetites, such as programmed leisure, insipid entertainment, and soporific food. In short, much of their morality was determined by whether their physical regularities were being immediately attended to. Many of these people were easily convinced by the first humans to join their organizations and spread their plans because they believed they would be benefited, among others, to receive privilege. They also liked being made to feel they were better than others, and they were quite easy to subdue with bribes and lies. The third group of humans wanted to be good caretakers and stewards of just about everything under the sun. You could say that in general, they were quite alarmed by the methods and goals used by the first group to dominate those in the second group. But they didn't exactly know whether it was something they needed to actively oppose. That is, until these first humans started banging down their doors in the middle of the night to yell at them that they too should give over their resources, produce, livestock, and land to the more superior first race. That is when they decided, and rather quickly too, that they had had enough, and that these incursions had gone on for far too long. They tried talking with the first group, but right in the middle of the discussion, the first group drew some weapons and just began firing at them. Group number 3 decided that something needed to be done, and there should absolutely be no delay about this. None at all. They sent some representatives of theirs to speak with the humans of group number 2, but found there were only 2 people willing to host them. They were soon to be husband and wife, and they were concerned that all around them, people seemed to simply disappear from time to time, or some who once addressed them as friends would seemingly treat them with cold indifference right after upgrading their house or buying a new car. They were the only people to welcome this group of strangers warmly into their home and treat them with respect and grant them generous hospitality. These strangers found it easy to converse with the 2 landowners, and soon everybody found themselves in agreement about the topics of conversation presented. The 2 landowners found that they had much in common with their encouraging neighbors, and they promised to share their ideas with their unfriendly neighbors, even if doing so would risk further ostracization. In return, the strangers promised that should they succeed, they would help the 2 lone humans from group number 2 build a world where the violence and degeneration they were noticing all around them would cease to exist. The 2 found it very hard to speak to most of their neighbors about the meeting that had taken place with the friendly strangers. Most of their neighbors had already received small bonuses or promises of future dividends for either helping to to make weapons directly for their employers or for having ardently spread the word that a lifestyle which necessitated military and financial enslavement was not only necessary, but a beneficial achievement for keeping subordinates in line. More and more of their neighbors stepped up to the task and were happily recruited into this new and spreading culture of a vicious and relentless domination. Warfare made them feel good about themselves and satisfied their fear against those that they hadn't subjugated yet, which they felt had become constant threats simply by virtue of their freedom. With a clear directive to dominate others, they felt that their position in the new social order was safe, and that rank and reward were guaranteed them as long as they conformed to their boss's orders, who in return were also receiving their respective marching orders. This coordination for them was their new peace and new stability. Most succumbed to this new way of life without much persuasion at all. Indeed, they reasoned, working together to subjugate others and competing for externally awarded prestige, gave their lives a newfound sense of order and purpose. And as long as any misery or suffering they might have experienced while carrying out the orders from their higher-ups could be offloaded on any members who had not already been inducted into their organization, or further spread among themselves during territorial or reputational brawling, they felt satisfied until their next opportunity to promote conflict. The two found a few erstwhile supporters here and there among the wreckage, but the majority of habitants had already given themselves over to practices such as the buying and selling of sentences, the advancement of the most vicious among them to the highest seats of authority, and the induction of their young into this tooth and claw environment. Worst of all, it seemed that those around them genuinely enjoyed this practice of systematic conversion and proselytization, and it seemed that their hopes and the hopes of their sole supporters would never be realized. Slowly but surely, however, their message spread to those that had not become completely corrupted, and still retained the values they treasured most about being human: freedom, the regarding as cardinal the desire to help others regardless of financial gain, curiosity about new technologies, and a flourishing federation. Those that chose a life filled with reward and risk of struggle and emotion, of friendship and trueness, decided to band together and resist the efforts of those that sought to remove all their rights to life of freedom. There weren't many of them, but the ones who joined decided that to fight for a cause which preserved a world of conciliation, reciprocal cooperation, freedom from financial tyranny, and religious liberty was more important than maintaining the coffers of those who sought to obliterate this dream once and for all. Step by step, they overcame the forces that held knowledge at bay, imposed heavy burdens, and threatened harmful pathogens, and finally conquered and emerged as victorious, having prepared the planet for a brighter future. In the end, the now husband and wife smiled at what their efforts reaped and sowed. And yes, this is a happily ever after ending.